Welcome, everybody. How you doing? Sandra Sheffield, host of Race and the Races. I have a special guest here today, one of the Esquire. And actually, my brother called me out because she actually went to school with one of my younger brothers. And he's like, you over here taking all my friends? And I'm like, yes, because you have some really good friends, some really good classmates. So yes, I'm going to take some of them from you. And so, Andy, introduce yourself to the crowd, and then we're going to get together and start talking about these black jobs that, and these immigrant jobs and 45 and the lives and the Dems and all of these different things. So we got a lot to talk about today, but go ahead and introduce yourself to the Race and the Races audience.
We do. Thank you so much for having me on along with you, Sandra. For those of you who don't know me, my government name is Andre McKENNEY Dorval. Everyone calls me Andy. And I am a licensed attorney here in Hollywood. A proud Red Raider for all the Red Raiders out there,
Red
might
Raiders,
I say.
That's right. That's right. Red Raiders in the house.
Yes, absolutely. And in Little Haiti, so we want to give shout outs to that as well. And as Sandra mentioned, I am a classmate of her baby brother. And so I'm just
baby though. He's not the baby. He's the middle of the brothers.
Oh, okay.
I have one younger than him.
But nonetheless, happy to be here and dive into some of the topics we're going to be going over.
Yes, and welcome. So we have a bit of an agenda that we're going to go through, but a couple of important things. Subscribe to the channel. We're on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the Facebook channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Because y'all watch the videos on YouTube, you just don't subscribe to the channel. So I'm going to have to tell y'all to subscribe to the YouTube channel, all right? And then actually, so if you look at the promo for today's show, you're going to see 2 QR codes on there. If you scan them, it'll take you directly to the page, and you can go ahead and scan. So we need you to do that. And before we get lost in our conversation, Andy, do you have the Miami-Dade County early voting dates and times?
I do. So I have several dates. So number 1, July 22nd, which is right around the corner, guys, is the deadline to register to vote or to change your party affiliation. So I want to throw out that date. So primary election early voting schedule that commences on August 20th. That's a very important date. Make sure you put it in your calendar. And also you can always check your Miami-Dade County Supervisor of Elections website to obtain those information. Likewise, the deadline to request, and this is important, a vote by mail ballot, August 8th. Again, from the top, July 22nd, deadline to register to vote. Don't rely on your past memory from 4 years ago or 2 years ago. Confirm that you are registered to vote. And if you're eligible to vote, make sure you register. And then again, the primary election early voting schedule, it starts August 20th. And your deadline to request a vote by mail is August 8th.
All right. So I think the August 20th date is the date of the primary election. And that's actually the last day you can vote during the primary season. So there's some dates that are about 2 weeks before that. We have a 2-week early voting cycle in the state. However, the counties get to decide when it is that early voting period is. So it's different from every county. So make sure you check. Andy's going to double check those.
I'm going to pull that up.
She's going to pull up the early voting dates, but the August 20th is actually the date for the primary election, and that's the last day you can vote, and you can go in person. And on that day, you actually have to go in person. And not only do you have to go in person, you actually have to go to the actual precinct that you're assigned to vote. Whereas during the early voting period, you can go to any voting site. So if you're driving by and you see one of the voting sites and there's no line, you can go in during the early voting. But if you wait until August 20th to vote, you have to actually go into your precinct to cast your ballot. All right. So I'll give you the Broward dates. So Broward early voting period is from August 10th, 2024 through August the 18th, 2024. And their times are from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they have about 28 to 30 early voting locations. And so check, and we will post this schedule on the Race and the Races page, and I'm sure I'm going to post it on my personal page too. But there are about 28 or 30 early voting locations that you can vote anywhere in the county, as long as you're a Broward County registered voter, on that date. If you wait until the August 20th date, then you have to actually go to your polling precinct to do. And the date for the vote by mail ballot is correct. I believe you said that date was August the 8th is the last day you can request it. So make sure you request it. And the other thing is that you every year, one of the changes that the governor made was that you have to actually request your vote by mail every year. Before, once you did it, it was there. They would send it to you. Now, every January 1st, you have to update that you want to get the vote by mail ballots prior to the election. Even if you decide to not vote by mail, the reason why you want to go ahead and get the ballots is so you'll know what's on it. So when you walk in that room, you be like, what's this amendment that they're talking about? And who are these judges they want me to vote for? I'm not familiar. So you get to see it ahead of time, ask questions from your friends, family, us, whoever, so we can, provide you with information in order for you to go ahead and vote. So that's one of the better reasons we want you to get your vote by mail so you can be familiar. And it also helps with, the candidates when they're trying to decide what to do with their resources, like how many people they need to send at voting locations. They can trend to see how folks are voting, so they use that data to help them with their resources. And the more folks that have already voted prior to election day, it's better for them. And then the other thing is that you never know what could happen on election day. God forbid something happens, it decide to be a hurricane because, we in South Florida and you can't get out there and you waited until the last minute and you didn't vote. But if you had your vote by mail or you early voted, then your vote was already cast.
And Sandra, I do have those dates. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So for Miami-Dade County voters, early voting schedule is Monday, August 5th through Friday, August 9th, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, August 10th through Sunday, August 11th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Monday, August 12th through Friday, August 16th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then Saturday, August 17th through Sunday, August 18th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, so we're going to post that too, because see what they did. Miami-Dade actually gave you the full 2 weeks of 2 weeks prior to the election of early voting. However, the times are different, right? Like some days they end at 4, sometimes it's 7. You can start at 8. So you need to, and you can vote the weekends, but you need to know the time. And I actually got caught up with that one time because it used to be 7 to 7. Like that was
right.
it. It was 7 to 7.
I remember that.
Right? And for the 2 weeks before, it was 7 to 7. You didn't have to worry about the time. I went to take my mother to vote and they're like, no, we closed at 3. I'm like, what are you talking about? Right? So pay attention to the schedule. We'll definitely post it. We want you guys to all early vote because this election, you know how it seems like every time it's the presidential election, we're like, our life depends on it.
Every 4 years, our lives again depend on it.
Don't you feel like our lives depend on it for real this time, though?
Yes, every year our lives depends on something, but yes.
Yes, this is a very serious cycle. A lot has been going on. So I didn't get to talk to you about the debates. Did you have the opportunity to watch, or sometimes people say highlights? I think it was a lot of lowlights in that debate, but do you have any commentary or comment on how that, I think it was June 27th debate between who wasn't even the Republican nominee yet officially, but the president actually debated him. What are your thoughts?
Well, I caught the highlights.
Not the lowlights?
And maybe some of the lowlights. The first thing that caught my attention is that the Republican National Convention has not officially nominated their nominee. And I thought to myself, wow, this is presidential. And so I kind of took it as this was a dry run for them to see the outcome. There were some moments where it was, I'm going to be honest, it was a little painful. And my end thought was, what was the purpose of this at this juncture? Like, why are we doing this now? Or having this, for lack of a better phrase, unofficial debate since so those
he wasn't really the nominee yet. So you're just talking to some dude that didn't even participate in the primary debates for the Republican national nomination, right? Remember, he didn't even he didn't debate the other people that were trying to get the job, right? So, and then for him to have to debate the president was like, yeah, that was kind of amazing.
It makes you wonder if in future election years, is this going to be, something that we see reoccurring? Quite interesting.
Yeah, it definitely was. So that happened. And I was actually surprised by the conversations afterwards, because all of a sudden, instead of people talking about the lies that 45 told, and that's my opinion, instead of people talking about all the lies that 45 told, they were saying, oh, the Democrats are nervous, Biden doesn't look good, they want to replace him, he should be gone. What are your thoughts on this conversation about, replacing Biden as the Democratic nominee for president, since he's only 3 years older than 45?
Well, arguably, they're both, and I'll say young at heart, if you're looking at the numbers. Arguably, they're clearly contemporaries based on their age, without question, 78, 81. Now, with regards to, the rhetoric about, Biden maybe not running for office, my thoughts is, if not him, then who? And why is this being advanced by some Democrats? It almost invites the thought or the discussion as to whether, and this is coming from the Democratic side, is whether was that part of a larger, and I don't want to say conspiracy, of agreeing to or having this debate.
Notes, no audience. I mean, the no notes is what got me. I was like, no notes? Are you crazy? You better give me my sheet of paper so I can write down what I'm about to say. I don't even get an outlet. So I thought that was like no notes, 90 minutes. I don't think most people could have pulled that off. Talking about all those issues.
Yeah, it's too much. And with debates, we know that when it comes to labor, when it comes to high statistics, you need numbers, right? That's what quantifies your position as to whether or not your policies are effective. What do the numbers say? And so the whole debate and then the after highlights and lowlights, it just makes you wonder, what was the purpose of all of that at that juncture, since the Republican Party has not officially nominated their person who will be representing the party. So I don't know. The jury's out on that one.
All right. So one of the things that came out of that is a topic of our, part of the name of this episode of Race and the Races is that, 45 was talking about some black jobs that the immigrants are taking, right? He said, we got to secure the southern border because all these migrants and immigrants are coming, and black folks should be concerned because they're taking our black jobs, or the black jobs, or somebody's black jobs. What are the black jobs? Attorney McKENNEY?
That's what I was thinking.
What's a black job? What's a black job?
I don't know what's a black job. I am black.
I got a job.
I happen to be an attorney. Is that a black job? I think for most of us, that statement, we need to really be careful when we make statements like that, or when statements like that are made, because it's deeper than just saying, people coming over and taking black jobs. It's such a loaded question, but some of the unpacking I think we need to think about is, number one, within the labor sector in our country, there are labor laws to prevent discrimination, right? Because for a huge part of our history, people who look like me, people who look, black, brown, and other people of color didn't have access to different jobs. So labeling a job as being black, I don't know what that is.
In 2024, mind you.
But the other thing that I think what it brought to mind is people of color or immigrants coming over. I think it's a division, a statement to divide clearly. And then it begs the question, if there are black jobs, are there other types of jobs that are not black jobs, and everything? Now, if the statement is to say that people are coming over and they're taking certain jobs, what jobs are those? and why are those jobs, quote unquote, Black jobs? It invites really deeper discourse, some of which that goes back to slavery, slavery and post-slavery, to be quite honest.
Yeah. So yeah, when I heard that, I was like, ooh, like, and then I was actually conflicted because I'm an immigrant too, right? So I was like, am I one of the immigrants that came and took a Black job from somebody? But I don't know, right? So that's another space that we're in, that we're really conflicted, because we're children of, not only, some people are just children of immigrants and they were actually born here in the United States. Only one of the 5 children my mother had fit that category. I have one brother that was actually born here. The rest of us, like, we're immigrants too, right? Like, not only are we the children of immigrants, we, came from another country, came to the United States, did whatever we could, did what we did with our lives. And I'm like, so am I one of these people? I mean, I didn't come across the southern border, but we have people in our profession. One of our colleagues, Ruth Jean, who's a very well-known immigration attorney. She has a book out that talks about her journey, because she came in on a boat, right? Like, she's a boat arrival, became, very successful practicing immigration law right now. So y'all can check out her book on Amazon. I'm getting everybody a shout out today. So she's one of those people who, like, that's one of those immigrants that came to the United States. Did she take somebody's Black job, even though she went, got educated, became a professional? Because I don't know if these are the jobs that particular former president was talking about, but that's really one of those things, like, what do you mean? And it's so disrespectful for communities of, since he talked about Black people, we're going to leave it at Black people. It's so disrespectful to Black folks, right? I think it's even more disrespectful to Black immigrants on top of that too. And then to say something like that, and then now then for me, I always have to reconcile it with, like, how does anybody support him, right? Like, I say anybody, but let's say, like, anybody Black or anybody that's an immigrant. How do you support someone who says those types of things, right? Now, is there some room to have conversation that maybe, immigrant populations have come to the United States and they've tended to be more successful than maybe natives? There's a conversation for that, because one of the most successful immigrant groups are Nigerians, right? They're the most educated, the most successful for all different types of reasons. So, but there's one thing to have a conversation about that. Say, well, why is that the case? That might be because there are only a certain type of folks from those countries that actually get to leave. So you might be getting, the top of that particular country's, you might be doing a brain drain from that native land to get those folks to come into the United States. So you're not getting a true sample of that immigrant population, because you're getting people that had means, resources, educated, blah, 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 to come into the United States. Do you have that conversation? But I don't think the 45, when he made that point, he was talking about, academics or people who are professionals. I think he was mainly talking to folks, low labor, like, well, now I won't say low labor, but laborers or people that are in the service industry, right? Like,
or agricultural.
Like agricultural service, like those, folks that are in that employment sector, that's who he was talking about, that, oh, these immigrants are coming and taking over your Black jobs. And I mean, and even if they were, like, is that something we should really be concerned of? I don't know. And I don't know if I'm in the right position to speak about it, because I am an immigrant too, right? So, like, I'm an immigrant. I was like, maybe I'm biased because I am an immigrant that came to the United States, managed to get educated. Like, I don't know about being able to take nobody's job and stuff like that, because if I could, I would have took one that paid me a whole lot more than what I actually make. You know what I'm saying? So, but the fact that I was able to come to this country and obtain some level of education, I mean, did I disenfranchise a 5th generation African American person in order for me to be in my space? I don't know.
That's a very good rhetorical question, Sandra, because, like you, I'm also Haitian. Of all my siblings, I'm the only one born in the U.S. Everyone was either born in Haiti or in Bahamas. And so I grew up in Little Haiti, went to inner city schools, was able to achieve being an attorney. So the question is, did I take, so and that's why I said there's so much to unpack in that and everything. So, and it begs the question we started off with: what is a Black job, right? Number one, I think we need to, like, are you, certain jobs are Black jobs and others, and which is why I say we really need to be careful with labeling jobs by color, it's a very dangerous, a dangerous characterization. And I think it takes us backwards with all, legislation and labor laws and civil rights laws. Quite frankly, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. And it minimizes that whole thing, like the whole struggle. It takes away from all the work and effort and struggle and lives lost and all the history and how it is that people even got here to do what it is that they're doing. It just minimizes like that entire experience by reducing it to like a term like that.
Another thing also too is that it also relegates Black people to only certain types of jobs. And there's, by that statement, and there's an inherent danger in that, which, takes us back. I think jobs are jobs. And so jobs that are attained are by individuals who are qualified. And that should be the basis for jobs and not a description, which is why you have disclaimer language that we don't discriminate based upon race, color, religion, etc. And so that's a very dangerous statement if we don't, it shouldn't be stated, in my opinion, at all, because it begs the question. I think it takes us backwards.
Okay. But if there is a Black job that we have, right, everybody that's able to vote need to vote. That might be the Black job that we have in November, is that we need, if y'all can take all the other titles that give you money, but one of the things that we want you to do is to go ahead and register to vote before July 22nd, right? 2024, before you're registered. Request to vote by mail ballot before August the 8th, 2022. And the voting periods, Andy gave the dates for Miami-Dade. So, but it's sometime between August 5th and August 18th. So go vote. And so that's the Black job that we gonna give all of y'all, whether you're Black or not. So you to go ahead and vote in the primary elections that are happening by August 20th, and definitely the general elections that are happening November the 5th. Right. So we don't have those early voting dates for that election, but the presidential election will be on November 5th with an early voting period in Florida some 2 weeks before that time. Right. Okay. So you were talking about dangerous language with the Black jobs, right? It seemed like this election cycle has become dangerous, period. Right. There was on last Saturday, the former president was at a rally in Pennsylvania, and somehow some young man, at least that's what the reports are saying, some young man managed to get real close with a gun and took a shot at the president. Like, everybody who knows me know that I'm not a fan of that man, right? However, there's no way. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? What are your thoughts on that attempt? And then the responses that you've seen on social media, I'm not commenting on that post because I don't know. Like, you can't take this lightly, right? Like, you can't want that. Even if you don't like him, that can't be how we resolve political disputes in the United States, right?
No, absolutely agree. We don't condone violence under any circumstance, regardless of whether you support a candidate or not. So I do agree there. Interesting. And I have a question. I have several questions because I'm like, because we know that Secret Service and, all the other highly intelligent and trained law enforcement, officials and officers. But a few people that I've been speaking to seem to think that this was somehow manufactured to occur. And so based on the reports, someone has been shot and killed. And so that's tragic.
Oh, the shooter was killed, and another firefighter.
Another
person was there, and I think maybe 2 other people were injured. So this was tragic.
Very tragic. So I don't know that anyone would necessarily, regardless of who the particular candidate is, would necessarily, create such a setting and everything. But in terms of logistics, and I don't know how the person got up on the roof or anything like that. I do think that violence has no place in our democracy at all. And I think that's what makes, sets America apart, is that you can come to this country and exercise your free speech, support whoever you want, without fear of being harmed for doing so. So it kind of reminded me a little bit, I'll tell you, when I first heard it. Remember when Ronald Reagan was
shot?
Yes,
you don't remember that. You're not old enough to
I know, but
girl.
I
read about it.
Yes, exactly. Was I voting? No, exactly.
Because I was like, I was young, and I know you were younger than me.
Yeah,
but I do remember it though. I do remember.
Yeah, and I was thinking, and I thought to myself, oh no, this isn't good. No, this is not good under any circumstance, and everything, and it's tragic because innocent bystanders were killed and also hurt, and everything. I don't know what to make of it.
But in the Ronald Reagan situation, we got to find out why that happened, right? Like, because that person didn't die. Matter of fact, that Hinckley, he's out. He was determined not guilty by reason of insanity and was in a mental institution for a very long time. But he's actually out on the streets now, living his life, because they've come to a determination that he's no longer insane and he's no longer a threat or a danger to the community, right? So we got to hear why that happened. In this instance, who knows why this guy did that? And whatever reason or explanation we ever get, we're not going to hear from the horse's mouth. I'm not saying that they should have necessarily let him live to tell it, but it would be, I would want to know what would motivate someone to do something like that, particularly since that individual is a registered Republican.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. So I was like, really? Quite interesting. I did get to see a couple of interviews of his classmates who kind of described him as a loner. He appeared to be someone who was intelligent, because if someone didn't know the answer, they would always say, ask him, kind of like the person you want to take on Jeopardy, right? You always got to have that Jeopardy partner friend who just knows a little bit about everything. So, and let's talk about his age. He was 20 years old, very young, old enough to vote, granted, right? But I guess in my mind, was he young enough to have strong political views? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Some of that has to be kind of lived through a couple of economic cycles.
Your parents still taking care of you, probably. You ain't got them bills ain't hitting like they hit,
right?
You get older, right?
Not married, no kids.
Yeah.
None of the everyday life that starts to highlight issues that you start to research about a candidate. So it's like someone who came out of left field. And everything. So just so many unknown questions. I haven't seen any reports of any interviews with his parents and everything.
I think they did speak to the dad, because it might have been the dad's gun that he used.
Okay.
I hope I'm not mixing up facts or stories or anything like that, but I think it may be a weapon that his father had purchased, and that's what he used in that attempt. But I agree with you that dude, you're only 20 and you built up that much rage to go do something like that. I don't know. It's just so.
And he's a registered party member. So it just, I guess as they uncover more and learn more about him, and what he may have been going through also, because mental health may be, a factor, that led up to this. But again, it's just, I don't know. It's very strange. I will say it's scary though.
Yeah, very much so.
It's very scary because he's so young, and everything, and hasn't lived, what we consider enough to, wasn't in the military. A few times we, in our country's history, folks who have a military experience, and then they draw from that and basically, develop a separation from part of the government they were a part of, right? But those usually stem from some sort of lived experience while in the service, or not in agreement with policy decisions or military decisions and things of that nature. We don't have this here because he just graduated.
Yeah.
So The one thing that they did say, and that he was a loner, so it kind of makes you wonder. You know how they say still waters run deep?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't always know, what's underneath the surface.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely, because I didn't understand it, but I have to say, like, so full disclosure, I was one of the people when I heard it, I did post that real life just became an episode of Scandal. Like the show, that very popular Shonda Rhimes show, Scandal, that did with, had a lot to do with politics and the president and the Oval and all of that stuff, right? And there was an episode where, they sacrificed the president's son in order for him to win the election. So I was like, is this what this, I mean, it's you can't make sense of it. And I'm not saying that's what happened for real, but it just really, like, I was like, wow, this is like a episode of Scandal. And and I was getting calls, like I got a one call in particular, and they was like, that means that he just won the election, right? Because of that, right? They said, I just won because of this, because now he's a martyr. Like, why are people trying to kill him? You know what I'm saying? So that will, you know what I mean? Like, it would probably get him more support. I'm sure he raised a whole bunch of money as a result of it, because once he got convicted, he raised like $50 million. So I'm sure he was able to raise a whole bunch of money as a result of this too. However, particularly because as a person that have immigrant parents who left their country because of political unrest, to see that and they came here because of the democracy in the United States. And then you're like, but y'all starting to look like, is America starting to look like some of these countries that they were out here bad mouthing, right? Because January 6, 2021, that was a straight up attempted coup d'etat in the United States. Y'all call it what y'all want. Go try to make it be like it was a tour of the White House in the Capitol. You could go say that now, but on that day, that's not what that was, right? That was something that was very, very traumatic and resembled some of the coup d'etats that we've seen happen in other countries that America is definitely supposed to be better than, at least when it comes to the political process that we have here.
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree, Sandra, which is why what I think we're both saying, and hopefully it resonates to the audience, is that violence is there's no place for violence in a free world, in a democratic nation, regardless of whether you support a candidate or not. That's what makes the process, work, and makes it open, where someone who has aspirations of being a president, such as Barack Obama, first Black president, right? And so violence definitely has no place. Definitely agree. Now, I did have questions, though.
Okay.
I did have questions. And maybe I watched too many police shows. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and this is not saying that, anyone didn't do his or her job in terms of...
Well, they didn't do a good job, because that shouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? Like, even if they did, like, maybe they did a good job, but they didn't do an excellent job, because
the footage the footage that I saw, because clearly there were snipers, guarding former President Trump. So we know he had armed servicemen, ready. But the video footage that I saw with this with the shooter on the other roof, I don't know. And of course, it's all hindsight is always 2020. Let me just preface that, right? Because in the moment, and we don't know at what point in time that he climbed on top of the roof. All of that intel information may not have been known at the time. But there are, what I would like to think, some sort of pre-briefing in terms of the layout and everything. And so it was scary, because there were a lot of people at that rally, as evident by the innocent, attendee who was shot and killed, and I believe another one who was hurt. But this could have been, and of course the president, who did suffer a shoot, I believe, to his ear. But this could have been far, scarier than what it was. And so I was just like, wow, I wonder, how did this get missed? again, hindsight being 2020, we don't know. I wasn't there, you weren't there, and everything. And so we're looking at play by play. You're on mute.
I would have never been there. I'd have never been there. Like never. Like no.
No, but let's just envision, right? If it wasn't, Pennsylvania, because both candidates, they rally across.
Yeah, no, I went to a lot of rallies in 2020. I did. I went to the one where Obama came. I was there when Biden came. I was there when Kamala came. So I was at the rallies, and that was in COVID, right? And I was at the rallies outside during COVID. The drive-in rallies. I was there. They were outside during COVID. So that could happen. Right?
It could happen at any rally, which is why violence cannot be a part of the process. It kind of reminds me, this is like going back to in history. There are a couple of duels, in history that we've learned about candidates. I might say the early start of our country, it was violent, Sandra. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah. Listen,
it was violent. They may not have guns, but they had swords and different things. They duke it out. So the early part of our history did have a level of violence.
The Revolutionary War. Yeah, the North was fighting the South. They were like, no, we want to have our slaves. They're like, no, you can't have your slaves. It's not good. So yeah, there was a lot of bloodshed. There was definitely bloodshed. I mean, and we have a president that was assassinated. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by somebody that didn't like his stance on decisions that he was making for the nation as a whole. Right. So it's not that we haven't seen it, but it's like, dang.
And also Kennedy.
Yeah.
And everything. So it's not to say our American history is devoid of that. But here, this is a forum where people come to congregate to support whoever their candidate is. Mm-hmm. And so that's what makes it so much more scarier, and why we cannot under any circumstance, condone this or do our absolute best. I'm sure that they're doing all their debriefing and everything to, prevent this. But yeah, that was really scary. And you having been at a rally, I'm sure for everyone who's been at a rally probably thought, oh my gosh, what if I was there?
Yeah.
And then oftentimes you don't know where these bullets are coming from. It's like, I can only imagine.
And that's the thing. They're doing something that we should encourage, right? We should encourage people. Like, if you want to support a candidate, go listen to them and hear what they got to say about the issues that's going to impact your life. This is something that we should embrace. Folks going there to support their candidates, and if to make it dangerous, it's like, oh my, Yeah, it's a lot. So what do you think about his VP pick, JD Vance?
I don't know. I've not given it much thought. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Listen, let me tell you. So the wild thing is, like, I haven't been watching the RNC because I can't. Like, I try and I'm just like, I can't. You know what I mean?
Like watching the basketball playoffs when your team's not winning.
Listen, I'm like, it's not even that. It's like, I choose peace, right? Like, there are people that I used to talk to that I don't talk to anymore, because I'm like, at this age, you got to make some choices about like how you want to live your life and what kind of energy you want to attract and having your space and all that. So when I'm like, I can't listen to it because I'm sitting there like getting mad, and I'm, I'm old enough and heavy enough that blood pressure can become an issue. I'm like, why am I sitting here making my blood pressure rise by choice? Because I'm choosing to watch this thing, right? So I'm like, I can't watch it. But the thing is, like, if you see the things that this vice president person said about him, you're like, he called him a devil, a Hitler, and all of these things, but now you're like, I'm on the ticket, right? Or even Nikki Haley, and Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz and all of these people that are at the convention talking about, he's the president, and like, we want him to be president. They fully support him. I'm like, do y'all remember what he said about y'all and what y'all said about him? But I guess it don't matter. And not that when they're debating that they don't say things about each other, but it's the type of things that he said. And it's a type
what you would consider like below the belt if you were watching a boxing match.
That was in the gutter. Okay. So it was like, so that's why it's like, I mean, some things you can't come back from, right? Because the Democrats do the same thing, but they were talking about maybe someone's policy that had a impact on them. So they say stuff about each other, but not like on the level that I think some of the things the Republican candidates were saying. So the fact that he chose that guy, I don't know. I'm one of those people who think Trump does everything for money. I think, JD Vance was willing to pay the highest price, and that's why he ended up on the ticket, because the dude is like super rich, right?
That did not cross my mind.
Yeah, so I think he made Trump the best offer, because I think Trump's for sale, and that's why I think that's one of the bigger reasons why I don't think he should be president, because I absolutely think the man is for sale. So if you come and you offer him enough money, he'll do it. Because I remember one of the things he used to say was that Saudis pay cash. You know what I'm saying? He was like, the Saudis pay cash, so I don't know if you could handle a president where the man say the Saudis pay cash. His son-in-law left the presidency with, almost upwards of $1 billion because of deals that he made with the Saudis and Ivanka, the daughter. She got all these patents approved in China. So she left the, whatever job he made up for her in the office to leave with a whole bunch of money. And so because one of the people who believe he's for sale, you can't let the man be the president, And then I also don't think he should trust JD Vance either, because if somebody trying to put a cap in him, I wouldn't be surprised if that man. Listen, I'm just saying, don't quote me on that. Hey.
No, you know what? I didn't think of that, but nothing's outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
As it stands, being the president is the highest office. And so it's going to come with, for lack of a better word, certain privilege that just emerged. Yeah, a lot.
The court just gave him some more, but okay.
So I would like to think that a presidential candidate would not, base their running mate by running the numbers. I would, financial numbers. I would like to think that is not what is being done. But would we know?
I would like to think so too.
But would we know?
Well, we don't know.
Right.
I mean, but then he's from Ohio. That could be a battleground state. It gives him an edge or an advantage. So maybe that's the reason why he picked him. That could be the reason. That could be the reason. All right. So we talked about all the important stuff. We talked about the election dates. I got one little aside point that I'm going to make, and then we'll get into the crux of it, and then we'll start wrapping the show. So this whole idea of people not wanting to vote for Biden because he's old. Listen, I don't care. So my thing is, like, y'all can go watch House of Dragon season 1, episode 8, right? That's the episode where the king dies. Biden can look like that, y'all, and I'm gonna still vote for him. I'm just letting y'all know, because the alternative to me is far more scarier and ridiculous, that there's absolutely no way that I'm gonna not vote, right? Unless I can't, because something, whatever. I'm going to make sure I vote, and I'm not going to give it to RFK or don't show up. I'm not throwing away my vote. I'm not giving it to no RFK. I'm not going to not show up, and I'm going to tell everybody to come. Because the other thing we have to consider too is America has a succession plan that if the president dies. So if the president dies, then Kamala Harris become president, and I think the Secretary of State become the vice president or something like that. So they have a procedure in place in case the president dies. So we should not be scared of somebody else taking office, particularly her. And then remember, we have secretaries of defense, all these different legislators that are there that helps the president makes the decision. And I trust the team that the president has, that our current president has right now, or that the people I trust his cabinet and the people who would choose new cabinet members over what 45 would do. And let me tell you why, because what 45 did is that anyone who works for the White House, are supposed to go through background checks, right? They got to go clearance. Listen, I'm trying to volunteer for the DNC, and I got to do a Secret Service clearance in order for me to be able to do that. I'm like, listen, my credit bad. Am I gonna make it? I don't know, right? So,
Sandra, you're a lawyer. You already had your background check.
You understand what I'm saying? But that insurance rate went up, and it just threw my homeowner's insurance went up, and it just wrecked my financial life. So I'm just like, oh my God, right? So who knows, right? Because they're like, well, you and I understand why they probably wouldn't want to give someone that power, because again, you can be bought, right? And so you don't want people in positions where they can be bought, right? So, but what 45 did was because the people that he was trying to give positions to weren't passing the security clearance, he decided to get rid of the security clearance, right? What? Like, what are you talking about? So because you trying to get a bunch of, and then we saw what happened. Half the people that worked for him got indicted for one reason or another, right? We remember this. Like, people don't forget what was happening. People were getting arrested, getting resigned, getting convicted, still supposed to be going to jail. Some of them got out because of COVID. So this man, instead of allowing people to go through the security clearance and checks that they were supposed to go to, he decided to get rid of security checks. I don't want to trust that dude with the government again. I don't and I don't think people should. So this is why, if Biden looks like the king in season 1, episode 8 of House of Dragons, I am still going to vote for him because I trust the people that he had put in place to help make the government run. And then we see what 45 did with his ability to put 3 people on the court, right? So he had the chance to put 3 Supreme Court justices on the court, and he did. And where we at? Roe got overturned. They over here saying whatever the president do as part of his job, he can he has immunity from it. That's who you want to give all this power back to? Come on, people. Think about what was going on, right? This is the same man who told y'all to inject your veins with bleach to get rid of COVID. Come on, y'all. Why we forgetting all these things?
No, for sure. And I think I'm so glad that you mentioned for the audience that while the president is, at the head, he does have, cabinet leaders, because he's not doing it all by himself, and he can't do it all by himself. No president can. Even if they stayed up 24 hours, it's just impossible. There's no way. So yes, and he has a vice president, and worst case scenario, if she can't fulfill the duties of the office, it goes to the Speaker of the House.
It's the Speaker of the House. Okay. I said Secretary of State, didn't I? Right? Yes. Okay, Speaker of the House. Thank you. I knew it was somebody with an S.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so and what's the significance of that? The framers of the Constitution, they already contemplated, if this happens, the country can't stop running. We need to have a succession. And so it's built into the Constitution. In case some people did. And you know what, Sandra? Many people may not know, how our, government is structured. So, for someone who's hearing it for the first time, share that with others who they believe that
it's okay if Biden dies in office. It's really okay. It is come on. It is okay. The world ain't gonna stop. Now, if you give this other dude the power, he might die in office too. And JD Vance is absolutely not better. You know what I'm saying? So it's just and then they're gonna have people who didn't pass security clearances that's running major parts of the government.
And that's dangerous. And not only that, I don't think people realize the access to, classified and highly classified information about our country, about we as Americans, is scary. Could you imagine if the government got hacked? Or a ransom? It makes us vulnerable to enemies of the U.S. as a state. So yes, clearance is important for everybody.
For everybody, right?
For everybody. And ultimately it protects we, the American people, as well.
And the democracy as a whole. All right. So we talked about all those things. I was going to do some school board of Broward County stuff. I think they have their Broward County School Board have their meeting. I want to say it's Tuesday, July 23rd. If I'm wrong, Trisha, check me in the chat. I will post it. So pay attention to that. All of the candidates are set. Everybody has someone running against them. Like all the seats that are open, 1, 2, 3, 5, and I think it's 8. All of those seats it's either 8 or 9, one of those. So all of those seats are open. They all have people that are running against them. Now so the guys who have, so the Republican side of the school board race, which is a nonpartisan seat, so they're really not supposed to be, but there's a slate of folks that are, being labeled as Republicans, probably are, who knows, I don't know. They went to a Moms of Liberty event, and they were endorsed by the Moms of Liberty. And I don't know if that was a good look, right? Like, I don't know if it was a good look. Not everybody showed up. One of the candidates didn't show up to the event, but 4 of the 5 did. And I really don't know if that was a good look, because Moms of Liberty is one of those groups that supports that Project 2025 that everybody's talking about, right? And so because we know like all of the dangerous and the terrible things that's associated with this Project 2025, I don't know if it was a smart idea for those candidates to take themselves over there and go talk with those Moms of Liberty, right? And then, but some people agree with them, because one of the things that they want to do is take away some of this pornographic books that are in the schools. And some of the books that are in the schools, they do have some very explicit scenes, and we understand it, but then at the same, then sometimes things might go too extreme, right? I think they were the anti-mask folks and all of that stuff during COVID. But all that, and the part that I have an issue with that particular organization is that they've signed off on the Project 2025 stuff, which I think is problematic. And, we can't support that. Those school board candidates that went there, I know most of them. I think I've interviewed like all but one on this show, and I gave them a space to talk. They're very knowledgeable men. I can't say I hope that ain't that cost them their election, because I really, don't matter to me in that sense of who's on the board. Mm-hmm. But, those are things that I know people sometimes want endorsements, but I think I think people should think twice about who it is that they're allowing to endorse them, because it can make you lose out maybe at more in the end. Like you may lose more than you gain from getting an endorsement from some organizations. I know you're out of date, so that's probably not something that you're as familiar with, but do you at least want to talk maybe a little bit about Project 2025, what you know about it, Moms of Liberty or anything like that?
I don't really know much about Moms of Liberty and everything. Part of the components of Project 2025 kind of remind me of how you view government in terms of whether it's states' rights or, federal, with some of the components. As far as Broward County School Board nominees or candidates going to a meeting that supports this project, I think part of what you indicate is that, one, they're Republicans, right? Well, strike that. It's a nonpartisan position that you run for. It's nonpartisan. Yeah. But I think where you show up, kind of, tends to signify what you lean towards and everything. It could be that and such, or it could be just getting exposure because candidates who are nonpartisan, I think for the most part, they try to be balanced, right? You had a few of them on your show, right? And I think anyone who knows you ought to know that you support the Democratic Party. And so whether someone who's nonpartisan leaning a different way, I think they try to be balanced, right? Because ultimately when you go to the polls, only
how you voted.
Exactly. So
I want to say that to the white women. When you walk in that room, and this is not Annie. This is Senator Stafford talking. And I'm gonna take some liberties since she said that when you go in there to vote, only how you vote, right? So part of how 45 became a part of our lives in 2016 was because 55% of white women decided to go vote for this man, even after all the things we knew about him then, grabbing him by the pee, all of those conversations, the rape allegations and all of that. 55% of, white women, some of who are our allies, went in that room and voted for him. And you get all different reasons. That's the happiest they saw their husband. They're protecting interests. All of what that is, right? Mm-hmm. But now they're living the consequence of that decision that they made in 2016. Is because that man put 3 people on the court that overturned 49 years of history, right? Like, so now folks are trying to, now Florida Amendment 4 is on the ballot where they're trying to get rid of this 6-week abortion ban. And, so it's on the ballot for people to change that, because again, they're pretty much going to put you in a position where you might end up getting a homicide charge because you went out drinking and didn't know you were pregnant. Okay. And, you miscarry and stuff like that. And if they can say, you turning up caused the death of what's going to be called a baby after 6 weeks instead of a fetus, you could be facing homicide charges. So this is what the people he put on the court in the decision that they made to leave it up to the states to decide on how they want to handle abortion. That's why we're here, 55%. So you guys have an opportunity to fix this. White women single-handedly can solve this problem by, when they go into that room to vote, or the box to go vote, they can say, you know what? We saw what he did to us. We're living the consequences of the decision we unfortunately made then. We have an opportunity to correct this now, and we're going to fix it. I need y'all, my white sisters, to go ahead and fix this, and you actually can. Because in 2020, the number went from 55 to about 40 something. I think it might have been 47% of them voted for him. We can't have that. You guys saw what you're living out right now, the consequences. I mean, Kansas voted to put abortion on the ballot. Okay, Kansas people, you don't get no redder state than that. So this is the kind of stuff that we're dealing with right now because of those decisions that were made in 2016. You've seen the error of your ways, and you can fix this. And I that's my call to action today. I need y'all to fix this. You guys can go in there. Your daddy ain't gonna know who you voted for. Your husband ain't gonna know who you voted for. The chick you go drink martinis with, you know what I'm saying? Your country club folks, whoever, they're not gonna know that you went in there and you did the right thing by not voting for this man. Andy, I'm in trouble. Why'd I come on this show?
No, not at all. I think the bigger call to action, which we've already discussed, is go out and vote. Go out and vote. It matters. And it does make a difference. I think that's another thing too, the voter apathy. It's it's not going to matter. Especially if you're listening to Sandra, we talked about a little bit, the 2024 CNN interactive map.
Yes. Tell us about that. You looked at that more than I did. So go ahead, tell us about that.
I actually did.
There's a path to victory.
Yes. Okay, so the CNN has a 2024 interactive map. And so on the map legend, it's got a solid blue, a baby blue, so blue is for Democrats, solid red, and a light red for Republicans. And then I believe tossed up states were a salmon color. And so based on this 2024 interactive map, it has Trump slated at 272 electoral college votes. And that comprises of solid red states and states that are leaning red. By the way, Florida is leaning towards red. Sandra, tell us why Florida isn't a solid red.
It's not a solid red because Broward County is so blue, and they, in terms of registered Democrats, I mean, there's some other things happening, but we actually have enough numbers in Broward County. If we have a high enough turnout, and including Duval, Leon, I think Orange and Hillsborough, Florida can be a blue state, and Broward County have the numbers that if we can have a high voter turnout, and when I say high, it needs to be about 85% of the registered voters have to come out and vote. We can actually make this a blue state. So Florida, a lot of huge parts of it is red, but the numbers here in South Florida is enough that it can actually be a blue state.
And again, that's based on the registered voters, right?
Yeah.
But that second step is going out and
turn out.
Yes.
You got to show up. You got to come actually vote.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So what was really cool and interesting, because I actually did not know this, I'll put it out there, that 2 of our states, Sandra, the electoral votes are actually 2 go, well, with Nebraska, I believe it is, 2 are automatically to the winner, the statewide winner. And that would be based on the populist vote. And then I believe in Nebraska, they have 3 congressional districts. And depending on who wins in those districts is where the remaining 3 votes can be casted. What do you think about that? I thought that was quite interesting. Do you think
that might be right, because that's to me, I don't know. I think I would support something like that, because it's basically allowing the voter to decide who they want to give their electoral votes to, right? So like if they did something like that in Florida, all of them wouldn't go to a one red president, because we have very blue counties in Florida that have high numbers, right? So those electoral votes, I think Florida has 29, I think it is
30.
30. Okay, yeah, because
that's a lot.
We did add a new district during after the census. So we have 30 of them. And if say like 7 of them can go to a Democrat and the other whatever goes to a Republican, that might, that can probably get it. That would get it to the point where I think the person who wins the popular vote actually wins the election. Because one of the things we need to remember about 45 is when he became president against Hillary Clinton, he did not have the popular vote. He won because of the electoral college, right? Yeah. So you'll have someone winning based on electoral college, but that's not necessarily what every American wanted. So if you do split the votes based on what that district did, then I think that might be a fairer outcome. And I think if that's what was happening in 16, Hillary would have been the president, because she won the popular vote. He won the electoral college.
Right. It seems to be more representative, right?
Yeah. That would be more representative of what the people actually wanted, I would say. But then I don't know, that's what I would think, particularly because it's, based on population and numbers and all that kind of stuff. I think that would really, really reflect what it is that the people wanted.
And it would probably also galvanize more of the candidates really focusing on, some states don't get any, any sort of visits or rallies or anything like that. So that would probably invite more engagement with the populace as a whole.
Yeah, because they know that every number really does count, because they can just they don't have to get it all. It's not an all or nothing type situation. It's like, if you got the numbers, you get it. We can split this pie,
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if I wouldn't be completely against something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I thought, I was like, that's quite interesting. That actually takes us closer to.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm definitely looking at that map now. At first, I was looking at it. Okay, I don't like that 272 thing you said. I'm like, we gonna have to find a different path on that one. But I'm definitely more into it.
Yeah. So the interactive, it puts. Sorry to cut you off. It puts Biden at, I believe, 225. And it puts
it will be something, because I think it's like 270 is the path, right? So
270,
it's 435. So it would be something like he would have like maybe 267 or whatever the number is. I can't. You want to ask a question, Miss Teresa? Absolutely. The show is live. Yes, if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. Say, hi, can I ask? And I think you want to ask a question, but yeah, you can go ahead and ask a question. Just type it in the chat and we will answer you. We'll answer the question. But yeah, so we're going to see. I ain't like, when he said, I was like 272, I want to hear that. Because the first is 270. But if it's, divided and Florida do what they're supposed to do, we might not have to worry about
so it was, promising to see, Florida leaning red versus a solid red. Yeah. Is she typing in the chat?
I won't know until the question actually comes up.
Oh, okay.
Because we're at our, so we start talking
1 hour
mark. Like an hour and everything like that.
And
so I think we covered most of what we were supposed to talk about. So the other thing I want to add, and I'm going to add the application link in the chat afterwards, is that I'm now president of the Shirley Chisholm Democratic Club. And so, we're looking for people to come join. We're really into engagement. Our meetings really only last an hour, and they're like informative, like I don't waste nobody's time. They're very informative. So if you would like to join, go ahead and check my Facebook page, Sandra Sheffer. Even on Racing the Races, you'll find the application. I probably need to pin it to the top. It's more like an interest form. You just go ahead and send it out. And then we'll get some information from you. Join the club. We'll give you information afterwards on like how to pay for membership. So join the Shirley Chisholm Democratic Club of Broward County. We're all about encouraging women to run for office, supporting women who are running for office, but men are allowed to. We're doing candidate training things, like if you're interested in running, or even if you're interested in managing campaigns at some point, we're going to provide training and everything. I'm all about being informative and everything being a teachable moment. I'm a real big person that I really believe in cross training. Like you should know about some of everything, right? So we definitely it's always an informative session when we have our meeting. So if you have an opportunity, go ahead and join, and I'll drop the application in the chat once we get off, because apparently I can't do it from on my laptop when I send it to the phone. So I'll get it done. Okay. So thank you all for spending time with us. So close us out. What do you got to say, Andy? How was it? How was it?
No, this was a really, really good show. Good conversation. I hope it invited our audience to think about. I hope it invites our audience to educate themselves on the issues. Most importantly, take note of the date is so important. And like I think what Sandra started off, every presidential election year, it's do or die. But this one is really do or die. And 4 years from today, we'll be saying the same thing, right, Sandra? It's do or die.
Hopefully we won't be. Hopefully they would have gotten it right and we'll be okay.
Right.
Yes, this right here is serious. It's for real. It's real. It's serious, man. I don't care what nobody say. This is serious. This is serious. This is serious. Because we saw what he could do. We saw what happened. Again, they're trying to rewrite what happened on January 6th. We saw what happened on January 6th. You can't forget that, right? And that a lot of that came out of the rhetoric. A lot of it came out of the rhetoric, the things that was being said. And the country doesn't need to be like that. America is way better than this. We're a great nation with flaws and all. And I'm a Black woman saying this, right? With flaws and all, it's a great nation. You can create the life that you want to have here. And so we're definitely better than what we're seeing right now. We're better than what we're seeing.
Absolutely. So guys, make sure you get out and vote. Too many people died for us to have the privilege to vote. So exercise your right and make sure you register to vote again by July 22nd, which is approximately 5 days from today. Make sure you are registered to vote and get out and vote, and take someone with you.
Take 5 people with you.
That's another call to action. Take 5 people with you.
5 people with you.
Make it a voting party.
A whole party.
Yes.
Everybody come on.
Thank you for having me, Sandra.
No, thank you for coming, and thank you for all of you who stayed on and listen to us talk about all these things. And you don't be a stranger. You got to come back again. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Elections happen.